Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make my version of oatmeal cream pies. And this is a copycat version of a famous Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie. This is my gluten-free version. It also will be made with honey instead of regular sugar and brown sugar. And this is also a recipe I've never made before. And if you saw my red velvet cupcake video, you'll know that I mentioned Our Heritage Works. He recently made a version of this cookie gluten-free and had some issues with it. So I took on the challenge to try and make my own. This version of mine is kind of a combination of 3 or 4 different recipes. So the first thing I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 350. And then in this bowl, I have 1 3/4 cups of my gluten-free flour. I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And just mix this all together. Some of the recipes call for raisin paste. And if you've been watching my channel for very long, you know how I feel about raisins. This is only a 1/2 cup of raisins, and then I've got 3 cups of gluten-free rolled oats. And these are not quick cooking. Some recipes say that originally, the original Little Debbie cookie does have really finely chopped raisins in it. So if you don't like raisins, they'll be finely chopped and you won't get a really big chunk of raisin. And Our Heritage Works and we were discussing making the raisin paste and if we should add water or what we should do regarding that. I decided that I'm just going to dump in my 1/2 cup of raisins, and maybe half of my oats here. Actually, maybe I'll go all the oats. That might have been a bad idea. I think it was a bad idea. My raisins didn't get chopped up very finely. At all. Some recipes called for putting the oats in a food processor anyways. Not so that it would turn into oat flour, but just so it would break it up and not be like a traditional oatmeal cookie that has the bigger chunks of oats in there. So this is okay. All right, so it looks like I got most of my raisins, at least the big chunks, out of my oats here. And I'm gonna throw in a little bit of oats and process until we hopefully get a paste. So they are getting a little bit smaller, and this might take a really long time. I think I actually am going to add in a little bit of water. And I don't want this to be boiling water, so it's just hot tap water. I'm going to go not even a 1/4 cup to begin with. All right. So that looks really good. So that little bit of water and the little bit of oats and the raisins, I think gave me the raisin paste I was looking for. Okay, set that aside. So my oven is preheated. I've got 3/4 cup of butter, 1 1/2 sticks, and it's not room temperature, so I'm gonna microwave it for just a minute. So I've got 2 cookie sheets lined with parchment paper. I've got 3 eggs. So you just want to cream your butter. So this is a 3/4 cup of honey. So I'm using a combination of honey and molasses today. So this is 2 tablespoons of molasses. And then just mix this together. And this is the exact temperature that you want your butter to be. So it really creams together nicely with the honey and the molasses. Once you've got that all mixed together, I'm going to add in my eggs one at a time. In goes my first egg, and I got my second egg ready. In goes my second egg, and then I'm going to get my third egg ready. In goes my last egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And I guess I should mention, maybe some of you have never heard of a Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie. It's 2 oatmeal cookies that are really soft and chewy, and then kind of a cream filling in the middle, which isn't actually cream. So now that that is all mixed together, I'm going to switch to my spatula. And then I think I'm going to add in my raisin paste first, just to get it evenly mixed around before we add in the dry ingredients. So I think I got that all mixed in really well. I'm going to add in all of my dry ingredients. Now what I think is kind of funny is I have not had the original oatmeal cream pie cookie in probably 20 years. So I'm going off of a really long ago memory, and we'll see. I think either way my version will be delicious, but I don't know how it will compare to the original. And now the rest of my oats that have been finely chopped and still have little bits of raisins in here. And this is looking really good. I'm really happy with my consistency. It still looks like oatmeal cookie dough, but it won't be the really big chunks of oats in there, which I do really like. But I think to make our little sandwich cookies, this is really what I'm going for. Now this is something that is up to you, how big you want your sandwich cookies to be. I think I'm going to go a good spoonful size here. Try to keep it in a circle. I'm not sure how much these are going to spread, so I don't want them to be too close together. And I do have cookie scoops, but neither of them are the size that I want these particular cookies to be. So I'm going to start out with one tray. I'm going to start checking it at about 8 minutes, and then we'll see how long it takes. And then I'm going to kind of wait to space my cookies apart on that cookie sheet just to see how much these spread. So this is my last pan of cookies to come out of the oven. And these are exactly what I would like them to be. I want them to be an oatmeal cookie, but I want them to be a little on the flat side, but still soft. And they are very fragile when they first come out of the oven, so be very careful when transferring to your cooling rack. And that worked out really good. I ended up with 30 cookies. And my cookies ended up going for a full 12 minutes in the oven. They sure look good and they sure smell good. And because I have the exact amount to make all of them into sandwiches, I'm going to resist temptation to eat one now. So this is my Ermine Buttercream that I made. And this was what I had left. I would say it's maybe about 2 cups left. And I put it in the freezer, and I took it out of the freezer yesterday. And when I first made this buttercream, I originally thought this would be the perfect filling for these cookies. And I still think it will be. But almost every single recipe that I researched for these cream pies, there's some kind of marshmallow in the filling. And most people use the stuff you can get in a little plastic tub at the grocery store, and it's marshmallow fluff or something like that. I don't like to use that, and so I thought I'm going to experiment again, and I'm going to make kind of an Italian buttercream. And if you're not familiar with an Italian buttercream or a Swiss buttercream, they're very similar and they both use egg whites. My plan is to make, kind of a half recipe of Italian meringue. And then instead of adding in butter, I'm going to add in some of my buttercream here that I've already made. We'll see. I think it will be delicious. And I think making a meringue frosting like this, or a meringue buttercream, it will give me that kind of marshmallowy texture in the filling of my cookies. But I think this buttercream will be the right flavor too. So I've got my stand mixer here with the whisk attachment today. And then I've got 3 eggs that I need to separate and put my egg whites in the bowl of my stand mixer. And I've had these eggs sitting out at room temperature. Don't throw away your egg yolks. Use them in something else. So my 3 egg whites here in my stand mixer. I'm not ready to turn it on yet. So over here in this saucepan, I'm going to turn it on about medium high. And I've got a 1/4 cup of honey. And then I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of water. Kind of rinse out my measuring cup here. And because this is such a very small amount in my saucepan, I'm going to use my instant read thermometer today instead of my candy thermometer. And once it starts boiling, I'm going to turn the heat down to about medium. And whenever you're using a thermometer, don't touch the bottom or the side of the pan. Now what we're looking for is a temperature of about 238. While my honey and water are boiling, I'm going to start whipping my egg whites. Start out on low speed and then increase to medium, medium-high. I want these to be stiff peaks. One of the tricky things about making Italian or Swiss meringue buttercream is it's kind of a timing situation going on. You need your syrup to be ready at the same time your egg whites are beating, and then once these are stiff peaks, we start pouring in our simple syrup. So you kind of need it to be ready, but you don't want to overbeat your egg whites. So mine are looking almost soft peaks. My syrup here is not quite ready, and so I don't want to overbeat my egg whites. Once your syrup reaches the temperature of 238, I'm going to start slowly pouring in a continuous small stream down the side of the bowl. You don't want this syrup to catch on the whisk, and you don't want to just dump it in. You want to very slowly incorporate it into our beaten egg whites. Now I do want to scrape the bowl down very quickly. We want to beat this on high speed until it's no longer warm and room temperature, cool to the touch. I like to see what is happening. And this is looking really good, but not exactly there yet. I'm going to give the bowl a scrape. And what we're looking for is for the mixing bowl to not feel warm at all. This is what we're looking for. Glossy and shiny, but still soft and fluffy. With the mixer on low speed, I'm going to add in a spoonful at a time my Ermine Buttercream. One of the reasons we wait for this to cool off is so when we start adding in the butter, it doesn't just melt the butter and then turn into a soupy mess in your bowl. Because I'm not using straight butter and my buttercream is on the cool side, I'm going to start adding it in just like I would butter until it looks right. I'm going for a consistency rather than an exact amount, but I expect maybe a cup or so. But I might just use it all. We'll see. And you can see it's already changed the texture of my meringue. Want to scrape the bowl down, kind of see what's happening. And I think medium is better than low speed. So I'm just going to keep going. And if you notice, my Ermine Buttercream, it's really kind of crumbly. And I didn't stir it together in a separate bowl because I knew it would be going in the mixer. So not exactly the results I'm hoping for. I was expecting this to be a cross between a nice fluffy meringue and my Ermine Buttercream. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to add in all of my Ermine Buttercream, scraping down the bowl periodically, and if I feel like it's just not setting up enough, I'll stick it in the fridge and see what happens. That was the last of my Ermine Buttercream, and I kind of feel like this is an experiment gone wrong. I'm going to whip on high speed. I may have made the worst filling ever. I really had such high hopes for this. It's really just a soupy, soupy mess. I'm gonna stick it in the fridge, see if I can get it to firm up just a little bit, which is interesting because my bowl is really cool to the touch. Maybe my buttercream was a little bit too cold going into my egg whites and it broke my egg whites. That might be what happened. But I'm hoping that if I chill this mixture, it will bring my Ermine Buttercream a little bit back to life. Don't worry, we will have oatmeal cream pies today. Maybe just not with this filling. So my mixture has been in the fridge for about a half hour. And it is a little bit thicker. I'm gonna put it back on the stand mixer on low speed and see what happens. And if you watched my video where I made this buttercream, it did kind of look like this until it was more whipped. I think it's the nature of my Ermine Buttercream that was frozen and I didn't whip it. I should have whipped it. I think this buttercream is still savable. I went up to high speed and it's mostly just turning it back into a liquid state. Although it does appear to be getting more smooth. I'm thinking now I should have either just gone with a plain Ermine frosting or if I should have done Italian or Swiss meringue on its own. But I really thought they would work together. Maybe I'll just keep whipping on low speed and see what happens. On first glance, it looks like the texture is improving. But then on closer inspection and stirring it around, it just seems broken. Because I don't want to waste this. And I don't want to just keep adding ingredients to it. I keep thinking maybe I'll soften some butter or some cream cheese and whip that and then pour this in. But I'm concerned that it will just turn into soup again. And because there's egg whites in here, and because this buttercream initially was a cooked buttercream, I'm gonna put it back in my saucepan and see if I can get it to melt and get thicker just by heating it up a little bit. So I'm gonna turn my saucepan on about low heat. Nowadays, everything is so expensive, and I don't want to give up so easily on my ingredients. There's a lot of ingredients that went into this. But it's also worth noting when it's time to call it a failure and start over. I'm not there yet. We'll see. But heating up egg whites that were once a nice fluffy meringue, I'm really not sure what to expect. And you know, it looks like the heat is doing a really good job. Look at how much smoother it is already. Look at that. And you know the funniest thing? I don't think I could ever recreate this failure if I tried. So the bad thing is, if this turns out to be such an amazing, delicious filling, how am I ever going to repeat it? And the consistency really is so much better than it was before. I don't even really know what I'm looking for. I'm not sure if I should bring it up to a boil. I'm not sure if I should stop now. I think I'm going to bring it up to a boil. It really is thickening nicely though. Look at this. This is what it reminds me of. This is not really a custard, but kind of a disaster custard with only egg whites. And I'm hoping, because my egg whites were once meringue, it will still have that marshmallowy flavor, even though we're doing this. I still feel like it's a disaster, but I feel like it's at least improving somewhat. I mean, the texture is really nice, and it's actually kind of thick, and it looks nice. So I think going with kind of treating it like an Ermine frosting to begin with, and cooking it till it's really thick, might have been the right choice. But it already looks so much better. Now, normally I would probably cover this in plastic wrap or something like that. But I'm not going to do that. I want to periodically stir it around and see what's happening. I've never made a mixture like this before, so I don't know what it's going to do. Put it on the cooling rack. I apologize. If you came here for an amazing gluten-free oatmeal cream pie, you might not get it today. And I think I'm going to taste it. It's actually really good. It tastes like the Ermine Buttercream, but smoother and creamier, but it actually does have kind of a little bit of a marshmallowy flavor. And it's sweeter. It's sweeter than the original Ermine Buttercream, which of course, because we did add in some extra honey with the egg whites. So this might actually be the perfect filling. It's just a matter of seeing if we can get the texture right. This is actually getting a little bit thicker as it cools off. And just out of curiosity, I put a little bit in this little bowl and stuck it in the fridge. I wanted to see how firm it would get. And it's actually looking really good. My other brainstorming thing that I'm considering is when you're making the Swiss buttercream and you take your cooked egg whites and sugar and you beat it in your stand mixer until it makes the meringue. I think I'm going to beat this until it's cool. See if we can get our egg whites to re-whip. Make sure to get all of it. And I think if I could get this to cool down just enough to thicken up that I can spread it on my cookies without oozing everywhere, I think it might actually be workable. Okay, so not exactly egg whites, that's a meringue, but coming together. And that was a good solid 10 minutes of whipping. I'm just gonna keep going. It tastes good, the texture is actually really good. I'm just gonna keep whipping. That was another 5 minutes. And it is getting thicker. The nice thing about all of this, we don't even have to wait for the cookies to cool off. It might be tomorrow until we get to fill them. I'm gonna put it in the fridge. I decided to whip it again after having been in the fridge. And I think the cool down time is what it needed. I'm so nervous. And you know what? I think I'm going to call it good. I think it's thick enough that we can frost our cookies and then stick them in the fridge, and then I think it will firm up even more because I'm being really impatient. And if you've noticed, I've turned over all of my cookies so I know which ones have a mate, which they all have a mate. No piping bag. I think the piping bag would just make a mess. Now I want a good amount of filling in here. And I did have one casualty where my cookie broke apart. But look, this way I can show you what it looks like. So there's the back. And then of course, here's what the inside looks like. And that will be the one that I eat. Like most cookies, and gluten-free cookies, when they first come out of the oven, they're a little bit more fragile. And then of course, once they cool off, they're a little sturdier. And I actually think this will be the perfect amount of filling to fill all of my cookies. I want to go through and give everyone a little bit. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I've been messing with this buttercream all day long. And even though my cookies look golden brown on the bottom, they're still really soft. And I think they'll get softer being sandwiched with this filling. Now that I've given everyone a little bit, I'm going to go back and put a little bit more. And I want to press down a little bit to squish the filling out to the edges, but not so much that it all just squishes out. Now if this filling sets up like the Ermine frosting sets up in the fridge, it actually is a pretty sturdy frosting. Okay, those will go in the fridge. I'll cover them with plastic wrap. But for now, let's taste it all together. And because you already saw my broken cookie, I'm just going to break it right along there. And my filling does look like vanilla ice cream again. I don't remember what a Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie tastes like, but this is a really good oatmeal cream pie. And I was right. This Ermine Buttercream, it really does make a good filling for this kind of cookie. And I think that hint of raisin in there is actually really good, but you don't get the texture of a raisin at all. And I can see why some recipes call for blending up your oats. Not necessarily to make oat flour, but just to make it finer. Some of my oat pieces that are a little bit bigger do give it a little bit more texture, which I don't mind, I really like. But they're actually really good. And you know, now that I'm kind of eating it, my cookie is kind of falling apart a little bit. Of course, I don't have any xanthan gum in here. So if you make this recipe and your flour mix has xanthan gum, it might hold your cookie together a little bit better. Let me know what you think if you make this recipe. I don't know why you would. I think you might make the cookie part and then make your own filling. So let me know what filling you decide to put in with your oatmeal cream pies. But it is actually really delicious, even if my cookie is falling apart a little bit. I'm happy with it. Our Heritage Works, you'll have to let me know what you think about my attempt at Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie cookies. And you know what I think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go find somebody that loves cookies and see what he thinks. So here we are at Grandma's house, and this is my brother and his wife, Trent and Allie. Some of you guys know them. Russell and Leslie, Allie's parents, and my grandparents. And Trent and everybody, they want to participate in my cookie challenge of the original gluten-y cookie. So here's my oatmeal cream pies, and those are Little Debbie's. Can you tell? Can you tell the difference?
Yours are a little hardier.
A little beefier.
I remember these being much
bigger,
more substantial.
Yeah. I don't look how little they are. So clearly they look different, and I know they'll probably taste different. But I want a constructive criticism on my flavors.
Okay.
And my texture. I've got a knife.
I'm sorry. And you know how to use it.
All right. You know how to use it.
So this is the store-bought version.
Trent is a cookie expert on YouTube. Everybody knows that he loves cookies.
I'm a trained professional.
A trained professional. So I thought, what better professional to ask? Do you want one that isn't so smashed? Here, let's have a better specimen.
Russell smashed it trying to.
It's okay.
I always do that.
Yeah. You always do that.
My cookies are crumbly. That's one of the areas that it needs work.
How is it? Good. And we have.
But we really like them. So you need to taste one of each and then tell me what I can do to improve.
Should we taste one before the other?
I will leave it up to you which one you want to eat first, and then tell me which one you guys like better.
Well, you know what he's holding out for.
He wants the carrot cake.
He
Carrot
wants
cake
the-
is coming. Cookie taste test first, if you don't mind.
Alright, I got the store-bought in my mouth.
All right.
I'm gonna eat this whole thing.
Okay, do you like it?
Mm-hmm.
We really like that it's more of like an oatmeal cookie.
Yeah.
Yours are better,
Oh, thank you.
for sure.
They fall apart. That's one of the areas that needs improvement.
That's the only thing.
How close is the flavor to the cookie? Like cinnamon, molasses, what do you think?
Jill, oh, he's making a mess.
I told you they're messy. It's what I need to improve on. Where's Leo's bib? And you'll catch all of the crumbs.
Isn't that conducive with your flour? When
Yes, that's one of the things you have to work with gluten-free flours.
Yours are much lighter and fluffier and tastier.
Oh, thank you so much.
Really good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you like it. Yeah, it needs to not fall apart. And they are really big and beefy, so I think they need to be
That's
a little
good.
smaller. But if you like a big and beefy,
I like it like that, yeah.
Yeah, they're twice the size.
They are. But should we call them Big
do you think
Debbie's?
of
Big Debbie's cookies.
Big
Tastes
Daddy's.
better.
Big Betty. Big
mean-
Betty's oatmeal cookies.
I mean, hands down, the taste is just tremendously better.
Oh, thank you
Than
so
the,
much.
The industrial standard.
The industrial
Which I
standard.
used to eat a lot of in college.
Yeah, your filling is way better than that filling.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's like a marshmallow.
Well, see, and that's what I wondered if I should add, because I tried to add some like meringue that kind of tastes like marshmallow into my filling,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't sure if I got the right like combination right, because I don't remember what those taste like. It's been so long since I've
Yeah.
had one.
I mean, it's almost bland.
Really, compared to mine?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's,
Well-
yeah, yours is cake-like right now,
Uh-huh.
which is cookie,
Mm-hmm.
but very flavorful.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I would say that the industrial one
Mm-hmm.
inside is sort of sweeter, but almost more chemically sweet.
Okay,
Like
It's
okay.
processed. Taste
processed.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome
Yeah.
criticism.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
Really
nice.
nice.
If
Yeah.
you
Thank
put some-
you.
If you put some rubber in there,
Hold it together.
hold it together and be
So,
perfect.
so that's one of my downfalls is I don't use xanthan gum. So I'm using an egg to get that. But I think there's a raisin paste that and all you do is you take raisins and oats and you blend them in the blender to make a raisin
Oh, cool.
paste. So there's raisins in my cookie. They're just really small bits. And so I think that dried out the flour a little bit more, so it needs a little more liquid in there.
Or maybe date.
I thought about dates too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about dates.
Excellent.
Yes. High five. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, cookie professional. Thank you, everybody.
Sure.
All right, well, you heard it here first.
Very
My
good.
gluten-free cookies
Very
are better than Little Debbie. So
Big
thank you,
Debbie's.
everybody.
Big Debbie's win over
Big
Little
Debbie's the winner. So, and if you don't know who Trent and Allie are, you should go check out their channel. I'll put a link in I'll put a link in my description box for you guys.
Thank you.
But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.